In 8th grade, section 9.4, we're dealing with negative exponents. Now, so far we've had the positive exponents, which means that the number tells us how many times to multiply. So 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. When I'm getting into the negative exponents, then I start doing the opposite. If the positive ones tell me to multiply, the negative ones tell me to divide. So instead of multiplying it, I'm going to divide it by itself that many times. So, for example, 10 to the negative 1 is 10 divided by, is 1 divided by 10, right? And then the 10 to the negative 2 is 1 divided by 10 times 10. Okay, so I divide by 10 each time. Divide by 10, divide by 10, divide by 10, and so on and so forth. Okay, so actually there should be one here in the middle. It's 10 to the 0, which gives me just 1. Okay, so then I divide by 10, divide by 10. Because it's actually like divide by 100 here. So 10 to the power of 1 is 10, 10 to the power of 0 is 1, and then 10 to the negative 1 is 1 divided by 10, 10 to the negative 2 is 1 divided by 10 times 10. So when I have a negative exponent, all I need to do is put it on the other side, which is if this is has no fraction, I'm going to put it on the denominator and put 1 on top. So it's 1 over, and see now it becomes positive. Because this right here is the same thing as 1 over 10 squared, which is 1 over 100. So once I put it down here, the exponent now becomes positive, and then now I can deal with positive exponents. We're experienced with that, right? So an example is about 10 to the 3 over 5, right? This is from last section. Then I do 10, and I have to do 3 minus 5. I can't do 5 minus 3 because the rule is I take the top and subtract it by the bottom. Okay? So this means that if I have 10 times 10 times 10, and then 5 tens in the bottom, that means I cross out, and I'm left with 2 tens, but only on the bottom, right? So that's what 10 to the 3 over 5 is. That means I have 10 to the negative 2. Oh, I have it right here. So 10 times 10 times 10, so I only have 2 in the bottom, so that equals 1 over 10 to the 2, which is 1 over 100. Okay? So if that was confusing, I'm sorry, I don't know why I rewrote this again. It's right here. I'm going to try it on number 1. Okay, so hopefully you'll get it from here. So because this is a negative, that means I'm going to put that on the denominator, because it's the numerator, 3. And now that I'm putting it on the bottom, that 4 becomes a positive. And I can multiply that out if that's what the answer wants me. But this is how I do it. I just take it, bring it to the bottom, and now it becomes positive. Okay? So if I want to write this into exponent form, well, 125 is the same thing as saying 5 to the cube, right? 5 times 5 is 125, so 5 cubed. Okay? So what this means is that basically, because it's on the bottom, this is the same thing as saying 5 to the negative third, right? Because this negative third, if I work backwards, will mean that I have to put it down here, becomes a positive, and then it's 1 over 125. Number 3 wants me to evaluate. 16r to the power of negative 3 if r equals negative 4. So I do 16, r is negative 4 to the negative 3. Now here's the thing. This negative 3 only applies to the negative 4. It doesn't apply to 16. This is different from this, right? That means that negative 3 has to go for both the 16 and the negative 4. But in this case, it's just the negative 4. So what that means is I leave 16 on top, but I'm going to bring negative 4 to the bottom, and then it's now a positive 3. Okay? And what this means is 16 is the same thing as saying 4 times 4. And this is negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4, which I have, this cancels out and this cancels out, this cancels out, this cancels out. I have still 2 negatives and 3 negatives, so I have a negative 1 over 4. Okay? If that was confusing, you can just multiply this out, negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4, and then reduce the fraction, if that makes a little more sense. And you should be able to still get negative 1 over 4 as your answer. All right? So try page 502, numbers 3, 8, and 11, 502, numbers 3, 8, and 11, and I will see you in class.